Okay, so we have our parser working. It doesn't actually do much as far as making data to our app, but we can parse data from Amazon at this point using some scraping and fancy Nokogiri stuff. So that's the biggest challenge, I think. So at this point, we want to add a little bit more to that method that's going to tell us to save a product. So at the very bottom of our parser file method, that will contain essentially the ability to save products. So we'll say self.save to product. And we'll pass in both the URL that we passed previously and then a product itself. And we'll call this out from an external source. So in my case, it will be a background job where this gets called. We can do a kind of a rescue statement for this as well as a good practice, I guess. A standard error. If you're not familiar with these, you can throw errors at will with Ruby, depending on your own apps, and you can just pass in begin and end statements that allow you to catch those things. So attributes in our case will be the main thing that we're going to call, which returns right here. So we'll say get attributes and then pass the URL. This is literally going to call this method inside the same module and get the stuff that comes back. And if assuming there's no errors, we'll say product.update and say attributes. So we'll create that product using the URL in the job, which I'll make next. But if we rescue, let's just do some logs. So you could say Rails logger and post an error to the logs. And I'll just say error in save to product. This helps you pinpoint stuff that's just not working right. And you can pass in the instance of the error as well. And we need double quotes to interpolate here. Add those. E.message will be the error message. And you could do another one if you want to just do like a break in the line. E.backtrace, that gives you the where the heck did it happen. And we'll see join by a new line. This is pretty much what you see in your Rails logs by default. Cool. So with that, we can go and create a new job now where the magic will happen. If you remember in the create action, I was saying I was going to delete all this stuff. It doesn't matter anyway. Well, that's why. So we're going to do that stuff here. We'll say async. So I'll generate a job, Rails generate job, and we'll call it product import. That will go create a new file and a test called product import job. So right here is the job. Nothing too fancy at all, but what we'll do is inside of it, find our stack, which we'll pass through. So I'm going to pass the stack ID and also the link to the job. So we'll say stack equals stack dot find stack ID. And I'll show you where this actually originates in a little bit. We want to first check if the product already exists based on the link. So we'll say existing product equals product find by link. And that'll either say, oh, there's a product or not. So we'll do a condition around that. So if existing product, else existing product. Pretty simple. We'll just add the stack, it to the stack. That keeps us from creating countless products of the same type, you know? So we'll say products that's stack. And then also else we'll say if the product doesn't exist, create a new one. So we'll say product equals product.new. Initialize that with the link. And then you can go say product.stacks the stack we want to save to. So we know where the stack saves. Then we'll run our handy parser, product parser, Amazon save to product link and then product. All right, I'll come back to this part of Turbo and stuff like I mentioned in the beginning next. They'll basically be automatically render the product in the view after this stuff occurs. We'll come back to that though. So assume everything is typed right, we should be good to go as far as creating a product. Then we'll go back into the products controller and kick this thing off. So when we go into our products controller, we need to get the link from the params. So what I ended up doing is getting that directly. We'll just say params. And because we're using a product route or resource, we'll get the product and then link. And then I'll just make sure to strip it in case there was any white string or white space or something pasted with it. And then we'll get our job perform later. We'll pass in the link and also the stack ID. It's good to pass in just the smallest amount of data you can to a job, especially with Sidekiq, which is what I'm going to end up using, which is our background queuing service. I'll add that coming up, but that's essentially what you want to pass, very small data, and then go into your jobs and do more logic inside those since it's already in the background. After this is done, we'll just do a simple redirect. You would think normally maybe you do the turbo stuff here, but because we're doing this async, I don't really have a choice but to do it with the turbo class stuff in the job. We're going to have to do it in here. Haven't found a great way around that really, other than this. Maybe there's like a method listening for when the job's done. But even then, you need to be within the job to call something. So it ain't a big deal, but it is kind of a new convention to think and worry about. So in this case, I'm just going to redirect the user back to the stack path. And we'll say, notice product is being created, sit tight. Basically saying it's not exactly on your stack yet, but it's coming, kind of thing. Which isn't perfect, but to me, it's not a huge deal. I don't know. There's probably something you can put there, like a loading state or some sort of notice. That's more like a loader. I don't know. Didn't really solve for that in this guide, but it is something you consider. So let's go and set up Sidekiq at this point. We need to add the gem Sidekiq. And if you've never heard of Sidekiq, Google it and then go check out the GitHub repo. So typically you could use it on its own, but I like to use it as an adapter to active job, which comes with Rails. Pretty much only ever done it that way. I'm probably missing out on a lot of features doing it that way, but it is kind of just one of those things that I learned it that way. So now I'm stuck doing it that way in my mind, but maybe one day I'll go a little bit further with it. What we need to do though is add the gem to our gem file, which we just did. Definitely don't print the page. Gem file down here is Sidekiq. Good to go. Cool. And bundle. Then we need to configure it. So there is some setup involved. The easiest thing I found is to go to the wiki, getting started. This is using Sidekiq, basically just using Sidekiq as a worker. So it's its own entity. I like to use the active job instance. So I go over to this page and then you go into your app and add this configuration. So I'll go into my app config file or application file. There's going to be some stuff here from Rails UI. I'll just paste this above it. Save that down. What else did I need to do? Oh yeah, I like to run this also in my background processes. So with Rails UI, we use ES build and CSS bundling, and that gives us Tailwind out of the box. You can see that stuff here. This is being called when we run bin dev. All these processes are separate. So when that's called, it kind of does these different commands. So we've got our built-in Rails server at 3000. Then we do our JS build and our CSS build, and those stem from our package.json file. You see those scripts here that get run. For Sidekiq, we're going to use, I think it uses Redis, I'm not sure, in the background. But we need to run it independently, so I'm going to call this worker. You can call it whatever. And it will be a separate process that we run. It's just a way to run all your processes in one console log or console tab, as opposed to running up. Historically, I've done like a new tab and run bundle exec Sidekiq, and that's totally fine, but you would need to maintain all those tabs, and it's kind of annoying. So I'll just run it here. Great. So since we edited that, we probably need to restart our server and everything. So let's boot this up and I'll show you. See all these different colors here now? We've got a worker that is the new Sidekiq instance, and that's it doing its thing. So we've got web, which is the Rails server. We've got JS, CSS, all those running at once now we can hook into. One final thing I like to do is add some UI to the installation that is known as Sidekiq. So to our routes, I'll go there and add a couple of lines that make sure we can see the UI part. Clean this up a little bit. I'll say if defined, basically if the Sidekiq class is in the app, we'll go and require Sidekiq web, and then mount a engine. Well, you can put this anywhere, but I'm going to throw it just Sidekiq for our sake. You might want to put that, in your case, for a production app, maybe behind an admin paywall, or not paywall, an admin lambda or something. That allows you to scope it to just the real, higher level people on the app that are doing stuff to manipulate it, that should be, and not anyone else. Since we edited that, I'm going to do one more restart of the server. And with any luck, if we go to localhost Sidekiq, should see some stuff there. Now you're going to see a lot of junk in mine because there's a lot of stuff in the background between all the apps I've worked on and everything else that still use this instance. So yours probably won't look the same. If it doesn't look the same, that's okay. So I'll keep that tab open just for fun. And now we can go verify things are working. And my, designer UI focused brain would want to do this with, manual entry. And actually, I will try it. Why not? Let's just do it. Let's see if this does anything. We got to this point. We'll see if our job is broken or anything. Go into our logs. We'll see import job ID temp done. Looks like it maybe just worked out of the gate. No issues, which is always a plus. There it is. So there's our product that was added. So let's fix up the UI a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll discuss the turbo stuff in the next video. So let's get the UI looking better. Instead of just this product, I'm going to keep that since we want to go to the product detail page at some point. And I will render a new product partial. I'll call this one slim because it's going to be just like a real tiny line worth of stuff. And we do want to render the feature image if it's there. So let's give it some love first as far as UI goes. PY3, flex, item center, gap 4. All right, and then we'll say if product thumbnail attached, it's part of active storage. You get that little conditional. We will get a link to stack product path and stack. We're going to pass instances down. So if you see these local variables, that's why. So we'll say block do. We'll link to it. If there's a thumbnail, we'll get the image tag and we'll say URL for, I like to do it this way, product thumbnail. And then class, we'll give it some class make it pretty tiny. That's if the image exists. Then we'll do flex item start. Justify between gap 4 and then flex 1. That gives us a flex 1 class. That'll shift everything from one edge to the other. And we'll link to the stack again, or the product, I mean, stack, product, path. And then we're going to use some turbo stuff. So I need to add this target top thing that looks funky. If you don't do that, it tries to do some turbo response when you click on this link. So that's why I'm adding it now. But you'll see when we get to that point coming up what that entails. All right, then we have an H4 class, or H4 with a class of font normal, text small, group hover, text indigo 600. And we'll say truncate, because the titles I notice on Amazon are ridiculously long, but I think it's people trying to get their SEO juice in. So you see that on Airbnb and stuff too. It's funny. Random aside there. And let's see, P class text medium, text small, and then we'll say number to currency, product price, and then after that div, we want to have one more, or wait, flex 1 there. After the link, we'll close that div and then make a new div. Justify end. It will be a button to just like literally go buy it if you want. So we'll say link to buy on Amazon. Product link. We'll do target blank. I have some predefined button styles with this theme, so saves you some time, and it looks pretty good. Okay, now you're wondering like, whoa, where do we render this, Andy? It's like, well, you need to go back to the stack again. We'll go into the show view, and I will go and render for now. Not this one, this one. Slim. We need to pass the stack in here as well. Now it looks like I mistyped. Okay, I guess it didn't actually import like I thought. Let's see what happened here. Let's delete all the products. Double check my models because that should be able to delete. It's not for some reason. It's brand dependent nullify. Belongs to brand product stacks. Let's do dependent. Destroy. All right, I think I should be able to delete those now. Product destroy all. Yep, okay, cool. If you're wondering what that means, essentially, if you're trying to delete a product, this is still associated with it, and you can either safeguard that by not having this, or go ahead and delete this association with it if that product is indeed deleted, if that makes any sense. Hopefully. All right, let's go and figure out why parser didn't save. Try to run it once more, see if it was just a fluke maybe, or a different protein powder. Okay, we'll go ahead and add this. Let's see what our logs say. Internal server error. Did upload our attachment, which is a good sign. If I refresh, there it is. Okay, I guess it was a fluke. But that gives us our little fancy look and feel. We get our price, which came in from Amazon, $44.99. Our image is there. If we go to our view now, we get this, but it's not really awesome. So let's update that real quick just to look a little better. In our product partial, I'll just change a few things around. Get rid of the pros thing here for now, and we'll come back and fix that up. So let's do, if the product thumbnail is attached, we'll do a flex items start. Justify between PY 6. And we'll do similar if product this won't look very good, but I'm just getting it to look a little better than it does. So image tag will be product thumbnail. And below that, we'll say okay, and next I'll do that pros thing. Pros. All right, in there I will have, get rid of these subtitle thingies. Description. Do just a simple format. It's kind of a built-in, like, I don't know how to describe it, way to render basic HTML. Nothing crazy. We'll keep this product link. I think we'll get rid of ASAN. We'll keep. And price we can get rid of. It's up the top. And then brand we'll keep. We'll put that after the description. Instead of the brand ID, now we can do brand.name. And below that will be the time class again. So let's see what that looks like. Simple, not form, simple format. Let's make this on its own line. Does that work? There we go. It kind of looks like a product page. Nothing crazy here, but if you notice in the markup here from Amazon, it does still have some HTML that comes through. Right now it's a span tag, but some of this stuff is just, you can either try to regex it and get rid of it or just keep it as is. For now, I kept it as is. If we remove the simple format, you'll see there's HTML. Not a big deal, but it is kind of annoying. On the product page though, I want to change this to the title. There we go. And again, we'll do if current user stack. Finally, the same with this. We could say title and truncate it, maybe. What did I do? Like length of 60. There we go. This is kind of funky because it renders that way. Maybe we could do that. Yeah, do that on the little partial as well. Where is it at? Title. Maybe we could call it just on the end, HTML safe. So if we go back to the stack, that's one thing that's kind of funky on this. We should maybe link to the product. Instead of this new products junk, we could go back to the stack title instead. So if we go this page, there's our first stack. Why does it link there though? We need to go to stacks path, not stack products path. So again, here, back to there. That's what we want. So essentially that other page you can either keep or remove, whatever you want to do. But that gives us our starting point. I mean, this could be cleaner, but yeah, product title, got this sorted, HTML safe, good. Okay, in the next video, let's figure out how, for when you add a link to here, let's do one more just to show you by example. I have to actually refresh the page and I find it annoying. So I originally wasn't going to include it in this guide, but I think it's pretty worthwhile to know. And it's kind of a cool little thing I figured out using Turbo and Turbo streams in the background jobs to update a page after the fact once you've added something like this. So if we add this, we don't really know it's going to work until you refresh the page. And it might even not happen instantaneously, which is kind of a sucky thing, but it is one of those things. But notice I just refreshed. It's there now. We have our page of all the stuff rendering. Seems to be working as ideal as we can get it before entering the Turbo world. So the next video, I'll talk you through and walk you through that.